Okay, so welcome to another episode of Around My House. And today we're going to deal with a new problem. Our dryer has a tendency to eat our clothes. Some family members have reported problems with the dryer, pieces of clothing getting stuck and then twisting and turning and ripping things apart. And I wasn't so sure about this, so I just finished running the dryer. And sure enough, if you look in here, we have a hand towel, or it's actually a napkin, and it is stuck. And you can see it's gotten all twisted up and shrinked and squirrely. So I've already attempted to fix this once before. It didn't work. Problem is that inside, let me get a light in here. Inside, come on. Right in there, do you see that gap to the right over here? That gap right there. Let me adjust this. Great light. That gap right there, that's the problem. You can see how the corner of this napkin got stuck in there, and the way to get it out, of course, is to slide it back over, and you can see it's done a nice job on that. So I've already once tried to remove this grill, and successfully, no problem, and I cleaned it all up and everything and thought that would be enough, but unfortunately it's still happening. So we've got to find a way to close that gap. A couple things I noticed is right over here, right here. You see that gap there? It's not very tight. Yeah, not very tight, even though the screw is tight. Whereas over on this side, the gap is much tighter. So I'm going to see if possibly this screw right here, which holds the base of this to the grill, might be loose. If that's not the problem, then I might have to try something else. So my next step is I'm going to get a screwdriver and I'm going to remove this grill. There's a couple of tips about removing this grill. I'll be right back and I'll show you what I mean. Alright, so the first step is to remove these screws. I've done this before. These are Phillips head screws, and even though the screw heads are kind of big, the actual Phillips opening is a small screwdriver, not a large screwdriver. Just doing this by feel. Make sure you're turning in the right direction, and there's one more down here at the bottom. There. Now, you may notice that on this grill, right here, these are two sensors. When we take this grill off, we're going to find that there are two wires connected to the grill. Let me grab the phone. There are two wires connected, a yellow wire and a black wire. We remember that the black wire was on top and the yellow wire was on the bottom. These just pull off. It's their little spade connections. But what I want to do is first take a look. The light for the dryer just went off. Is it possible, for example, this seems bent right here. I'm wondering if maybe this whole section here is bent, and that is why we don't get a good seal. It's also very possible that this plastic frame has bowed from the heat. I'm not sure, but I'm certainly not going to be able to heat it up and mold it myself. I don't have the talent for that. So what I think I want to do is first see if here's that screw I was talking about. And that comes in right there, and that actually has nothing to do with this mount. So I want to see what gets this mount tighter. Looks like the screwing in of the grill also holds this mount in place because it's taking up the same holes. see. The last hole was down here. Oh, yes, that's of course. There's this metal piece right here. So this does look bent to me, but I don't think that the entire rim is bent. This looks pretty good to me. I don't see any damage. So I'm gonna do some investigation and see what if there's anything I can do to make this tighter. I'm gonna try screwing this back on and making sure that that one screw was on tighter and see if that takes care of my gap. Do that before I disconnect these wires and try my second option. Okay, so welcome back. Did a little more investigation here. Wanted to point out a couple things. There were 3 screws, right? There are 2 larger screws, this one, and 1 smaller screw. The small screw goes in the bottom middle, whereas the 2 larger screws go on either end. What I've done so far is I've reattached this side right up here, and I made sure it was very tight. I didn't want to strip it, but it's very tight. I'm going to go ahead and put in this middle one as well, but I'm already seeing that it doesn't look like it's going to make a difference, but I'll get back to you. Okay, so I've attached the 2 screws, the one here on my right and the one in the middle, and I've made sure that they're pretty cranked down. And you'll see down here, I hope, that there. We still have, we've actually closed the gap a little bit. Just want to give it something to set the light on. We've actually closed the gap a little bit, at least down at the bottom. Before that was a lot wider. But to the right, for sure, there's still a gap. If I can, my screwdriver here. There, that makes sense. If I can, you can see I can't even. I can't even press it closer. There is no more. I can't get that gap any closer, the bottom or the top or the side. So I'm not sure if that has helped the situation or not. It may have, but I'm concerned that there's still that gap to the right. So I may have to just test it with another load of laundry. But that's definitely improvement just by tightening this screw over here, making sure that this one in the middle was also very tight. And then of course, when I put the last screw back in, I'll make sure that's tight as well. But I still got that gap there. I'm not sure if it's enough to be a problem or not, but it might be an improvement. Could have been that simple, we'll see. Okay, so just to follow up, I just did another full load in the dryer, and I didn't have any problems. I had clothes in there with strings. I even put that same napkin in there. It ran for an hour. Nothing got tangled in it. So I'm hoping that's the fix. If it happens again, then I'm going to have to come up with a better solution. But so the solution was to crank down on the 3 screws that hold this grill against the lint filter contraption. So I hope this helps. Turned out not to be that big of a deal. I hope. Anyway, thanks for watching around my house. See you next time.